Evan Solomon was appointed Canada's first ever Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation in May of this year. A former journalist and entrepreneur, Mr. Solomon was elected MP for the riding of Toronto Centre in the April election that brought Prime Minister Mark Carney to power. He sat down with parliamentary correspondent Christopher Gooley to discuss the role of universities in the federal government's new AI strategy. This is their conversation.
What role do you see universities having, research institutes having in the world of AI going forward?
So, Chris, universities, post-secondary education are absolutely vital. And you got to start why. And the answer is from the principle that we are functioning on, that our AI national strategy and our AI task force, and my foundational principle is AI for all. And that means that we need to make sure that this transformative technology that is happening at a rapid pace, that is having impacts across the country, both in terms of an incredibly fast-growing industry that's a pure play AI and, frankly, quantum industry, both of them under my auspices at this new ministry. And those industries, those companies that are there, Chris, we've got over 3,300 pure play AI companies in the country right now, employing well over 150,000 people. In a digital innovation sector that has over 800,000 people working in it, which is the fastest growing job sector in the country. So supporting that is really important. And then you've got the impact of AI across industries, where how does AI affect healthcare? And how does AI affect engineering? And how does AI affect government? And how does it affect defense? And how does it affect agriculture? And if you look at any part of the education curriculum, AI on a cross basis, the Venn diagram overlaps. It's having a transformative effect. So part of my mandate in everything we're doing is to make sure that everybody across sectors in the pure play sectors and across all sectors benefits from this. And how do we do that? One, we have to build trust, and that comes from keeping privacy and data safe. That's really important. But two, it means that we have to have a skilled and educated workforce in this to use these tools. And post-secondary education, colleges, universities, trades, they all have to be very much a part of this, because they need to make sure that AI is a tool used to benefit everyone. So in the healthcare sector, you see incredible innovation in terms of, and so you see in universities that are studying healthcare, and where they're teaching about healthcare, there's massive applications in terms of surgeries, in terms of taking diagnostics, in terms of doctor's notes, and we see companies doing that every day. If you look at the engineering platforms, there's AI in the world of engineering transforming everything from building materials to how you're mapping out urban planning and mapping out cities. So the urban planning and geography. The first thing, like Chris, I always say this, innovation, technology moves at the speed of innovation, culture and society moves at the speed of trust. And the best mechanism to build trust is to have a critical, an educated workforce that understands these tools, what they do. And then we have to have, obviously, the legislation around that. And so education and universities and colleges are playing an absolutely massive role here. I will say that if you look at who was appointed to our AI National Task Force, there were a number, the Dean of Engineering from University of Waterloo, lots of academics and university folks were on that list. And as you know, our ministry heavily invests in academics through our three amazing national labs like Vector in Toronto, Mila in Montreal, and Amy in Edmonton. We work closely, as you know, with the Digital Research Alliance, which is, I met with them when I was in Vancouver. Incredible group of, again, academics. We obviously have our CFAR chairs, as you know. We're building a sovereign compute infrastructure program, the state-of-the-art Canadian-owned supercomputer. That will be housed at universities because that's about enhancing the ability of researchers to stay at the frontier. Because, AI was essentially invented by Canadian advanced researchers. And, that's Geoffrey Hinton. That's Yoshua Bengio. That's Rich Sutton. I mean, our academic institutes really pioneered AI. And so we've got to keep Canada at the forefront. And then there's other ways. Finally, I'll say bringing in talent and supporting talent and research is a massive part of that. So, we've got our global innovation clusters. We've got our Pan-Canadian AI strategy that we're redoing right now, but that plays a major role in supporting research. Our CFAR chairs, as you know, well about that. So I guess my point is in every aspect of our plan, universities, education, talent, skills, training, that's going to be a massively important part of making sure that when we adopt AI across sectors, it benefits everybody, small, medium-sized businesses, not just the few, not just for a select elite few, that everybody is benefiting from this technology.
So you're positioning Canada as becoming a leader in AI, and is that largely or partly driven by the universities? I think it was on Instagram, you highlighted at Western, Mark Daly is the first AI officer at any university in the world. Is that true? Or in Canada?
Mark Daly, I think was the first AI. I think he's the first in Canada. I'm not 100% sure in the world. I think there's some debate about that, but he's one of the first in the world. He's certainly the first in Canada. I've met with Mark. Let's be clear. Canada's got, this is the thing we should be proud about. Our academic and frontier research created AI. The godfathers of AI are in Canada. And you see, and they're still attached to Canadian universities. They're still attached to our institutes. So you've still got Geoffrey Hinton attached to Vector, and his students, like look at Aidan Gomez, one of his students was one of the founders of Cohere. So that's an example. Yoshua Bengio, who is at Mila, our institute in Montreal. He won the Turing Prize. Hinton won the Turing Prize and the Nobel Prize. Yoshua Bengio won the Turing Prize. His students are all over the world, and he's still part of the university in Montreal. He's still part of Mila. He's still training students. He's part of our National AI Institute. We talk to Joshua all the time. And Rich Sutton is still teaching, right? He's attached to AMI. They're still at the University of Alberta, teaching machine learning. So the first thing is Canada is a leader. We're not alleging it. Canada was the pioneer. But Chris, leadership is not a birthright. You got to fight for it. So that's why we're continuing to support these. And our AI strategy has to make sure that not only we continue our leadership, but we invest in it because it's gotten significantly more competitive. So we need to attract more talent. We want to attract better professors, better researchers, better students. That's what we're doing. We're incentivizing that. And we've got to make sure that they stay in Canada afterwards. I think, Chris, one of the things that we should really know is how AI is changing how universities think about themselves. And this is a massively consequential transformation. And one of the transformations and how this is exhibiting itself is you see universities, if you go to Waterloo, if you go to University of Toronto, if you go to McGill, if you go to Sherbrooke, if you go to University of Alberta, if you go to SFU, if you go to UBC, if you go to any of these, I can name dozens of other post-secondary educations. TMU in Toronto is incredible. You see that universities are now no longer just places of pure academic research. They remain that, but they're also essentially the center of an ecosystem. They have accelerators. If you go to the campus at Waterloo, there's an accelerator project there. Almost many of the professors now are starting their own businesses based on their research because AI gives them the tools. This is the age of the entrepreneur. It has never been easier because of AI to turn ideas into action and businesses. And you're seeing that. And you're seeing students who not just go to companies, but start their businesses. So you're seeing a massive ecosystem starting up around universities. And that's been incredible. You see it in Montreal, you see it in Edmonton, you see it in Calgary, you see it in Vancouver, you see it in Windsor, you see it. This is a really important new opportunity for universities to become not just places of academic research, but real engines of innovation and startups, and where the research, the professors, the students are really kickstarting an industry. Waterloo is probably one of the most famous examples of this. I mean, the Waterloo ecosystem, where if you go there, you've got a Quantum Institute, you've got OpenText, you've got the Innovation Lab, you've got the university, all on the same campus. And there are stories of cross-pollination and research. That's fantastic. So as much as AI will challenge how we teach, what we teach, and there's going to be lots of challenges there, one thing that universities are recognizing is this is creating a massive opportunity. At the U of T, you have Ajay Agrawal, who is a professor there, an incredible professor, not only working at the Rotman Institute, starting the CDL, the Creative Destruction Lab, which has funded multiple and helped multiple startups. An incredible innovation zone. When they have Tech Week there, it's right. Where is it? It's right in that university. They have incredible startups. So we're reimagining what universities are, having gone from pure research places only to essentially catalysts for startups and innovation zones. And TMU's done that. SFU's done that. That's a real remarkable moment that universities are going through right now. And that's why on our task force, we have the deans of these programs because they're doing it. They're showing us how it's done.
There are two strategies. The AI strategy, and then there's a Canadian sovereign AI compute strategy. Is that part of the main strategy?
So all part of the same strategy. They're all part of a national strategy. And again, so the Canadian sovereign AI compute strategy is over, which was launched back in December of 2024. Part of this work is going to be part of our renewed national strategy. That was over $2 billion. The goal there was to increase domestic compute capacity and give research and companies the tools they need to compete globally. So in that, you had $1 billion for AI compute, right? And that was about building, that included investments in Amy Mila Vector, the NRC, the Digital Research Alliance for $200 million. That included the AI Sovereign Compute Program, which is known as the SCIP, that we're, building this, we'll be building in 2026, the state-of-the-art Canadian-owned supercomputer, because we've got to crank up our ability to, we need this, what's called the exaflops, to actually make for researchers to solve some key problems.
Evan, what did you say? We need what?
So it's just a way of measuring calculations. It's called FLOPS, FLOPS. Chris, honestly, it's completely it's technical.
Right.
But when you look at supercompute capacity, countries they use something called FLOPS, which is essentially calculations per second that you're making, mathematical calculations per second. And then they talk about just the number of them, like an exaflop or a petaflop, and supercompute. That's a way of it's like horsepower on a car. Okay. So when you're building a state-of-the-art supercomputer, Often you're measuring compute and energy. Like you see, like, oh, a data center is like a 300 megawatt data center. So that's one way to measure it. A supercomputer, you would say how much do you need from a power point of view, but you also would want to know what the calculation power is. But my point is that's part of it. We've also got the AI Compute Challenge, right? So that is about investing in things like data centers and companies and consortia to build up partners. And then we had in July the Compute Access Fund for $300 million, which essentially was supporting startups and small businesses to get access to affordable compute because they need the power. So all that is part of the Pan-Canadian strategy that we're renewing, and that's why the task force was here. And there's many other aspects to that. But those you are right to point that out. That's all wrapped up in the Pan-Canadian AI strategy and the Canadian Sovereign AI Compute strategy.
Can we go back to, and belated congratulations on your election, Toronto Centre. When the Prime Minister approached you to sit in Cabinet, the whole idea of creating a new ministry for AI, can you walk us through how that came about, what the rationale was, or how was this presented to you?
So I was delighted to run in this election because I thought it was the right leader at the right time in the right fight. And this was a moment that Canada, that I've said a lot, Chris, that we're at an inflection point or a hinge moment where we have a political realignment happening at the same time as a technological revolution. And so, we knew this was a critical moment. When Prime Minister Carney decided to run, he wasn't the Prime Minister when he first started. Obviously, as someone I admire and I know, he's someone that I really believe was the right guy and the right leader that Canada needed with the right skill set. Facing an economic crisis, facing a need to diversify, facing a need to modernize and try to handle these two things. I really didn't think there was anybody in the country, to be Canada, I don't think there's anyone better in the world that's armed to handle this stuff. So I put my hat in the ring early, and I decided to run in Toronto Centre when the riding opened up because Marcy Ian decided not to run. And I put my head down and ran in the election, not knowing where it would end up in terms of our party or anything else. After we won, and it was a remarkable campaign. I think Canadians recognized that Mr. Carney is someone that has the leadership skills we need right now. And I was honored to be asked to be in Cabinet. When he said that he would like to create a new ministry called the Ministry of AI and Digital Innovation, it was because he recognized this moment was about this kind of Gutenberg moment, that we've got political realignment and technological revolution happening, and that AI was no longer a subset of industry. It was something on its own that demanded its own ministry to focus on full time. Because we need, if we're going to provide AI for all, that means we need to build up our sovereign infrastructure, everything from data centers to cloud. So we need a sense of security. We need to make sure we drive adoption. We need to make sure that it's done in a safe and secure way, a way that protects our values and reflects our values. And then finally, because we got to trade globally, projects our values, because we got to make sure that AI is used for all in a productive and trustworthy way. And he asked me to do that, and I am endeavoring to complete that mission. And his formula, which is let's build Canada strong and protect Canadians from the kind of negative forces out there and protect our healthcare, protect our safe cities and protect our citizens, and then empower people to build something that will keep our prosperity in the future. And so that empower part is that build, protect, and empower is undergirding our entire mission here at my ministry, because we've got to do that for a whole new industry.
So and you've known Mark Carney for a while. You were friends, right? you've been friends for a while.
I've known the Prime Minister for a long time, and he is someone that I have long admired, and I've known him. Our families know each other, but more importantly, I've known him as someone who has a remarkable range. That he has that rare ability to genuinely understand the economic challenges. He has the relationships to diversify our trade. He's got the ability to actually execute on ideas. He has been trained in crisis, so he's someone that you want in a crisis, someone that you trust. Like they say in hockey, the game is slow for him. Like he slows the game down, and he handles it very, very pragmatically and carefully, and he's got a plan. And the other thing is I just know him as a family guy. He's someone who is likable. He's a real person. When he goes out there, like he is just a guy that, he has that incredible mind, but he's got a first class personality. And that's just a rare thing. And honestly, look, Chris, and you've known me for a long time, when I decided to throw my hat in the ring, it was because I wanted to serve the country at a critical time. And I wanted to serve it with Mark Carney as the leader. The amazing thing is, it's not like that was a radical decision. Millions of Canadians are stepping up, and they said the same thing. Hey, I want to serve. I want to help the country. I want to build the country, and I want to do it with Carney. Like this is the remarkable thing, that this sense of wanting to build this country together is really real. And you saw that in the election, but you see it every day.
When he asked you to serve in cabinet, did he say AI or did he give you an option? Because I'm thinking technology is something that you've been interested in for a long time, right? Shift Magazine. It began as an art and culture magazine, and then it moved into technology. So you've always had sort of an interest in this area. Wearing your journalistic cap, what are your concerns about AI?
So, first of all, the Prime Minister asked me to serve. I was happy to serve. I would serve in any capacity. I was really delighted because my experience starting a digital magazine and working in this as an entrepreneur, hosting Future World, had a long history in technology, working in technology, covering technology, building a company around technology. So I was super honored to serve. Look, this is every new technology of this scale, this scope is going to have massive opportunities, and there's going to be risks associated with that as well. And our job is to make sure that the opportunities are significantly more impactful than the risks. And we have to, that's why, let me just go back to the first principles here of AI for all and what you said. This is why we need an educated workforce. This is why we need to support our universities and our researchers to make sure. This is why we need to make sure that we have businesses that stay here with their intellectual property here, that they start businesses here, they grow businesses here, they expand their businesses here, and that Canada becomes, with this technology, not just the people who are the godfathers of AI, but the people who are the great benefactors of it. So we are headquarters nation. We have a great gain from it, people coming home, great people like Judy Pineau, who was a great, Joelle Pineau, who was a great engineer who went to Meta and now has come back at Cohere, and she's working in Canada again. They're coming home, and that's fantastic. And so, look, we've got to make sure that the jobs of the future are created here with AI. We've got to make sure that people get served better in healthcare, in government, but because AI is a tool to do that. My concern would be if this only benefits a few, not the many. My concern would be if we're not starting companies here, but we're starting companies in other places. And so those are the kind of things that our policies, our national AI strategy, our task force, we are seized with these questions. And there are not easy answers. Like, I'm asking Canadians to be part of this because this is not a switch that goes on or off. This is a long journey to build a country together that has these incredible tools, and we got to build it right. And it's going to take some work. And we have to design a governance system that is as flexible as the technology we're trying to govern, which means we're going to iterate. And we're going to have, we had a task force that was 30 days, and it was fantastic to see how fast it is. But we'll have more stakeholder input and iterations as we continue to see how this technology unfolds. But that's the way we've got to design a flexible, government that is flexible and yet clear by design. So we have the clarity for investment and the clarity for citizens on security, but the flexibility to make sure that we keep up with the latest technology.
Yeah, just when I asked you about the concerns, it was also about authenticity. The online scams, duplicating voices, images, that kind of thing. Does that fall into any of the basket of concerns you hold at the moment?
Just real quick, because I'm going to get the whole
thing. I got it. No.
But Chris, I would say this just in the legislation. Privacy and data, when we introduce legislation, it'll be about privacy, Canadians' privacy and data. There will be aspects on deep fakes and dealing with deep fakes. There will be aspects on how we treat information related to children and children's information. That's one aspect of things. Remember, we're going to have Stephen Guilbeault, Minister of Heritage. He will be dealing with an online harms bill. You can ask him when and where he's going to table that. But that will have elements of that. And then you're going to have Sean Fraser, the Minister of Justice, who also has promised some legislation around non-consensual sexual imagery and as well as non-consensual deepfake imagery. So you'll have three ministries that will be dealing with those kind of things to make sure Canadians feel safe and secure.
And that will unfold rather in 2026, correct?
Late 2025, 2026. I mean, there's a process of tabling legislation and then there's debate on it.
Right. All right, sir. Thank you. I know you have to go. You've been generous with your time, as usual.
Thanks, man. I hope that's great. Just ping me